Good day to you all. My name's MVGkaiser. I'm the host for this podcast tonight. We're doing this to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Super Robot Wars, Soopa Roboto Taisen. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have such an amazing milestone this year. And, me and my fellow fans here thought it'll be cool to do a special anniversary podcast because a milestone like this doesn't happen all the time. So just to talk about myself a bit, I'm from the Philippines, specifically Cebu. We're the second most developed province in the, or rather region in the country next to Manila, our capital. And I work as a animation producer, helping develop the entertainment industry of my province, Cebu. And also I'm developing an original anime IP. But that's enough about me. I'd like to introduce my fellows here, legends of the community, I must say. So first, I'd like to introduce the man himself, whose channel we're so graced to have this podcast in. D180223, sir.
Hey everyone. As everyone knows me from online, I'm D180223. I come from Singapore. I work as a teacher and I've been a fan of the franchise for close to 20 years. And I'm very excited to see how far this franchise can go. And I'm really looking forward to Super Robot Wars 30. And I hope to have a good time chatting with my fellow fans in the next 1 hour plus.
Thanks, D. Oh man, SRW 30. I think we all have a lot to talk about that in a bit. So with that, next is another amazing guest. One of the guys who started the Akurasu Wiki, the ever so important reference material and website we need whenever we get our SR points and our secrets in our playthrough. So please, a few words, Daichi.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here today. Yeah, it's really exciting to have 30 years of this franchise.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you very much, Daichi. So next up is another fellow fan, a fellow Filipino. This guy is a veteran fan, and this guy's just so cool. Boota, if you could say a few things.
Hello, I'm Great Boota. I got this name as a member of Super Robot Wars Genesis forums. Wow, almost 20 years ago, at least 15 years ago. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. So anyway, as mentioned, I'm from the Philippines and I am a professional actor. And I was born in the 80s and have been a huge fan of Mecha ever since.
Thank you very much, Boota. You hear that, ladies and gentlemen? We have an actor in our midst. So, but speaking, and he mentioned something very interesting, the SRWG or Super Robot Wars Genesis forums. For those who are not aware, for your young'uns and Gen Xers, back in our day, we didn't have no Facebook, no Twitter, TikTok. We had online forums. And, when you were an SRW fan in the late 2000s or the 2000s, there was only one forum to be in. And that was Super Robot Wars Genesis, SRWG. It was a wonderful community. It was a place where friendships were made. And, I remember when I was there, it was such an amazing place. But to talk a bit about that and himself was the guy who started that forum. Our next guest is the one and only Daba Myroad of SRWG. My friend, please.
Hey guys, Daba here. Thank you so much for having me in this podcast. I've been a fan of Super Robot Wars for more than 20 years. So I've been a fan since the late 90s. So maybe that's 1996 when Super Robot Wars 4 came out. And as you all know, I'm the founder of Super Robot Wars Genesis. And I'm looking forward to talk to you about anything mecha, and I'm also looking forward to the new Super Robot Wars 30. 楽しみです。皆さんよろしくお願いいたします。
本当にありがとう、Daba-san. All right. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We just love the Japanese culture so much, so please bear with us. But with that, but last but not least, is a dear friend of mine also, and who I'm very, very happy and honored to have here. Please welcome Jinrai Prime 666, sir.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me here. I'm Jinrai Prime. I've been a fan of Super Robot Wars probably since around 2011. So I'm not been into it as long as everyone else. I kind of got into it quite late, but I've pretty much been a fan of Mecha pretty much since then. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Super Robot Wars 30 and talking about everything that's been going on with the franchise since. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Jinrai. And thank you so much for joining us today. Correct me if I'm wrong, dude. I think you live in the UK, right?
Yeah, I'm in the UK. So yeah, we didn't quite get as much exposure to a lot of things as a lot of countries, but you know, there are still Mecha fans over here, but we are quite a small in number, sadly.
I hear you, man. I hear you. So you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? We have somebody from the States, Daichi, and then we got somebody from the UK, Jinrai over here, and then the rest of us are from Asia. So three continents gathered together in one podcast. So with that, we've have some topics here to share, and then everybody here is just basically we're just gonna go around the table, and everybody's gonna basically answer these 4 questions, because I think these are the things really help encapsulate the franchise, you know. So we're each gonna talk about our personal history with mecha, anime, or mecha in general before we encountered SRW, basically what we grew up with, and then how we discovered the games, our best memories about the game, and you know, the shows we've encountered through it. Of course, how the game has impacted our lives, and then of course what we're most hyped for SRW 30. Oh man, that game, guys, freaking A, that game. Right now I'm having a difficult time trying to get a secure pre-order for it here in the Philippines, darn it. But we'll go over those and so many amazing other things as we go forward. So to go over these things and to talk about his history with the franchise and how we went into the game, I would like to first call my dear friend, Mr. D180223, if you would like to begin the proceedings, sir.
All right, thanks. Okay, so firstly, with regards to my history, so before I even encountered SRW, as a kid, I grew up watching Power Rangers, Mobile Suit Gundam, Gundam Seed, Gundam Wing, and one particular mecha series that got me into mecha in the first place was called God Mazinger. And where I came from in Singapore, God Mazinger was dubbed in Malay, and I'm Chinese. I didn't know a single word of Malay. So it was, but even then I still watched it because of it has very nice action, and the mecha action, it hooked me into mecha in general. So yes, I grew up with all these shows before I got into SRW. So how did I get into SRW? It all started when I was, say, in primary school during the 2000s. During that time, there were many shops that sold pirated video game CDs, and one of those CDs had a collection of SNES games.
Wow, pirated CDs. I remember those days. We had that in the Philippines also.
Yeah, so in a way, it's thanks to piracy that I got into SRW, and and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure many people or many overseas fans in general also got into SRW thanks to piracy. But as we
Ladies and gentlemen, just as a quick clarification, we do not condone or promote it. We're just sharing our story. But I just wanted to say that.
yeah, so moving forward, one of the video games I bought was a collection of SNES titles or Super Nintendo titles, and one of the games in that collection was Super Robot Wars 4. And even though I didn't know a word of Japanese, I was Chinese, but I recognized the kanji, and thanks to the walkthroughs on GameFAQs, I managed to play through it, and I really enjoyed it. And through that game, it got me into SRW. So I was quite surprised to find that there were many SRW titles. And yeah, from there I went, and my second SRW title was Super Robot Wars Advanced for the GBA, and I would say the rest is history. I kept playing, and eventually I started a YouTube channel. Eventually I joined the various SRW forums and on social media. And yeah, so I'm now where I am today thanks to SRW. And through SRW, I I was introduced to many different kinds of mecha anime that I would never have any exposure of in my own country, such as say Getter Robo, Mazinger, Denkuga, l-gaim, or any mecha anime created by the great Tomino, Go Nagai, or even Obari. So as a fan of mecha, this was the perfect game for me, as it not only allowed me to see various different mecha anime characters and mechs interacting, but it also introduced me to various series that I might not have any knowledge of. So that's my history, and that's how I discovered SRW. And in terms of impact, I would say SRW had a very big impact in my life. Through the many interactions I had online, I made many good friends. So both through various, I also managed to create a Facebook group called the Mechanauts. Jinrai is one of the admins, and through that, I also managed to meet other friends and so forth. Even Daba, he's also on Facebook. Actually, most of us here, we communicate through Facebook. But besides Facebook, I also use YouTube. I use YouTube to maintain my channel, to try and bring in new fans. And in addition, on Twitter, I have a Twitter account, and I also use that to communicate with fans who use Twitter as their social media. And besides that, on Discord, I'm mainly at the Akurasu Discord. Akurasu is a very useful website and resource that Super Robot Wars fans can use to, if they have any trouble or if they want to know how to get special secrets or skill points.
Thank you. I'm really happy to hear when people like use the website, the wiki. It's great.
And I can't say how many times that website has saved my butt when I'm trying to unlock something.
Yeah, their website, very good. I managed to make more friends from their Discord. Operation Hot Blood, it was a Facebook page that also made new friends. And yeah, so in terms of impact, it allowed me to make many friends and so forth.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that, D. So
wait, and with regards to Super Robot Wars 30, I think I'm most hyped about seeing the debuting series, as well as the series that are making their first appearance in a console game. For example, the debuting series like Gridman, Knights and Magic, J Decker. Gridman especially is a series that is one of my favorite 2010s mecha anime, and it's a series that I've been wanting to see in SRW for a while. And in addition, Knights and Magic, I feel is a very underrated mecha anime, and it's good that it's getting more love through SRW. And J Decker is good. This is the fourth Brave series that is making its SRW appearance. So in terms of what I'm most hyped to see in SRW30, I'm most hyped to see the debuting series, as well as some series making their console debut, such as Majestic Prince and Gundam Narrative. And there'll be some, and it's for Getter Robo in especially, from the PVs and from the previews, they'll be allowing you to have two different Getter Dragons, two playable Getter Dragons, Shin Dragon, Shin Getter Dragon. Yeah, and yeah, these are some of the things I'm most hyped about. So I have a good feeling about the game since they had a 2-year development cycle as compared to the previous SRW games. So they should have quite a few number of surprises in store.
Yeah. Freaking A, those PVs, man. I got chills on my spine when I saw them for the first time also. And, it's so cool, Darren, you're from a completely different country, though admittedly we're in the same region, Southeast Asia. But the fact that we, that you have a similar sort of history to how you discovered the game with alongside other Southeast Asian, I just find that very fascinating. And it's so cool,
Yeah, but I think that's the neat thing. Like even though we live in different countries, but we are living in the similar region. So I think things are quite similar, maybe with regards to the piracy, and so forth. And it's because because we are not the only Southeast Asian fans. There are many fans of SRW in Southeast Asia. It's because of that if I'm not wrong, some of the translators or some of the translations, particularly for Namco Bandai, they outsource some of the work to Southeast Asia. So they are also tapping on that resource to bring the games overseas.
Indeed. And again, ladies and gentlemen, we do not promote piracy, but it was a very different time back then. We didn't have access to the games like we did now. And that's the beautiful thing about now that, that we're starting to get more access, and our idols from, in the Philippines, we have this term called idol. Like that's what you call a person that you really admire. The people we look up to in Japan, namely the good people in Bandai Namco and Team SRW, the fact that they've started to make the games officially translated and more accessible to the English-speaking world is just such an amazing thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, especially those who have just gotten into the franchise because of the recent games, specifically the VTX games, count yourselves lucky, because you heard it straight from D180223. During our day, we had to finagle around with trying to play a completely Japanese game, trying to memorize the symbols. Oh, this kanji means it will do this in the game, and have to, look at all those online guides. Yeah,
I remember those times. I was playing Super Robot Wars in like high school and college, and it was like taking school twice because I had to really learn the game facts, FAQs, and school at the same time. But clearly I liked one more than the other.
Preach, brother, preach. Well said, Boota. I remember those days. Ah, man, good times. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen. We'd rather be playing SRW than worrying about textbooks and all that.
Of course.
But we were talking about Akurasu earlier and how it's been so helpful to the SRW player. And then I think that's a perfect segue to our next guest, Daichi. If you could share with us your SRW story.
Okay, so let's see, my history with Mecha. I was born in California, but shortly after we moved to Japan, and so I lived on a military base over there, military family. And let's see, I don't necessarily remember a lot because, I was like 1 to 3, but we had on VHS tapes Transfer Z and Robotech, and I watched those a bunch. And for those who don't know, Transfer Z is like the American localization of Mazinger Z. and it was really weird because they like cut in random like great Mazinger scenes and like the Mazinger launch. It was really weird, but you know, it's what I grew up with, and you know, Robotech is, you know, got its place, and you know, giving, you know, Macross to the West, so it's also kind of, you know, special in a way. But let's see. I also grew up with stuff like the Gunbuster OVA from Gainax, Magic Knight Ray Earth, I remember watching with my friends in high school, and Evangelion. And I even watched some of the original Gundam and Gundam Wing and G Gundam and some of the other various shows that they had on Cartoon Network back in the day. And eventually I got through some of the other Gundams and what, like Shin Getter Robo, MVGkaiser, stuff like that. But let's see. How did I discover Robot Wars? So, well, I mean, like with D180, like there wasn't easy access to things. So, you know, I found them on the internet. I found like the original NES game and the Super Nintendo games. You can imagine how that went. But we had a Sega Saturn, my brother did, and we ended up getting SRW FF and F because of it, kind of out of order. So that was always interesting, getting to start with the second half of the game. And then eventually got the first half, so I had to start over from the beginning. And got to discover what like Dunbine through that. And oh, I remember there was that wonderful conversation between Ray and Hiro from, you know, Gundam Wing and Evangelion. That was very exciting, very riveting conversation, those two. And then, yeah, I got like the Alpha game on the Dreamcast, and then, you know, the advanced games, and eventually SRWW, and then eventually got into the PS2 games. Let's see. Let's see, how did SRW impact my life? I guess I can back up a little and just talk about what the community was like, the internet community back in the day, because there was not a lot of places to get information about these games. You had Daba's site, SRWG, of course, had some web forums, also a fantastic RC channel, which I somehow ended up taking over. I'm sure Daba could talk more about his forums a little later. But you also had game facts. There were forums for every single game. Everybody had their own guides that they would post up. And I started getting frustrated with the various game facts guides because some of them would just have, you know, translations. They wouldn't have any Romaji or the Japanese. They use different Japanese encodings. I did print things out, but it was only so helpful. And these frustrations led to me starting the wiki. I had some web space and it was just like, you know, Wikipedia is a thing. Why can't we do that for video games? So this was like before Wikia and like other, you know, generalized wiki sites. So it's one of the first, I imagine, for, you know, just video games in general. But it was mostly just for Robot Wars games. We also got some information for like Disgaea and some other stuff on there. But these days, it's so much easier for people to play these games. You can find them in English now, fan patches and officially in English, so that's nice. You have websites like Wikia and Reddit communities, 4chan. People do Let's Plays. GameFAQs is still around, but I don't really need to look at those anymore. Let's see. But yeah, it became a big enough part of my life where, you know, I decided to make my own dedicated website for it. eventually created a Discord channel, which grew quite a bit bigger than I ever imagined it would. And yeah, I think that's my basic story there. For SRW 30, well, I don't really watch the trailers. I'm not very big on trailers. I like to be surprised about things. But I've seen Gridman. That was a really cool show. Right now I'm reading through the fan translations of Knights and Magic. So I'm also excited to see that show up. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Thank you so much, Daichi. You know, it's so cool about like how, you know, it just goes to show some of the best things in life started from a single person's frustration to fill a need. Like, so did you start Akurasu like just completely by your lonesome, or did you have any help?
Well, I mean, it was thanks to some friends helping me get started, SciTech and some other people from the RC channel for SRWG. There was Dramata who was putting out her little text guides, and I asked if we could, convert some of that over to the wiki, and she was very helpful in that regards. Yeah. Oh, I guess another like just little impact is, I've met some people in real life that, were fans of SRW, and, I like to sneak in the question. It's like, oh, have you ever heard of the Akurasu Wiki? And just about every time it's like, yeah, and they have, and it's just kind of nice to have that little impact on people. Like, it seems like most people have, in some ways, like, they fall upon the wiki, and I think that's great.
That's awesome, I have to say. And you know, it's interesting that when you mentioned about Transor Z and everything, you know, when I was first getting into Mazinger myself, I remember encountering that in late 2000s YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the intro, Transor Z.
Oh yeah.
Oh my lord. Oh man. Well, it's that funny type of like localization from the 70s and all that. I can't decide which I like better, Transor Z or the Mazinger Z that they actually had an English version of the OP, if you guys remember that. That was sang by well, who is it? The one who sang Getter? I remember he was the one who sang the English version of the Mazinger.
Yeah, that English version was dope, man.
Yeah, I love that English version. Koji can swim in the sky. I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh man. But truly, thank you, Daichi, for sharing your story, and thank you also.
No problem.
And thank you also for starting the website. You know, I'm sure a lot of fans would be scratching their heads trying to unlock stuff if it wasn't for your website. You know, and I agree with what you said. Sometimes the game facts stuff is just not enough. So, you know, thank you for doing what you did. And
always a pleasure.
Awesome. All right, so from Akurasu, we go to a legendary forum where all of this began, and to talk about his Super Robot War story is the legend himself, the guy who started it all, Mr. Daba Myroad, if you would.
Thank you. That's so flattering. I don't consider myself a legend at all, but thank you.
We do.
Thank you.
We do. Yes.
Yeah, thanks guys. Okay, so just for full disclosure, Super Robot Wars Genesis is not the first English site for Super Robot Wars. It's actually ran by a Singaporean. His name was Kai. Then he went into the military. You know, it's a 2-year service thing required for all Singaporeans. Well, he didn't come back after his service during that time. So I said, like, who's gonna take over and all that, because this community was awesome. So that's when I started Super Robot Wars Genesis. And thankfully, everyone got aboard and accepted me as the new admin. And the forums came into I believe it's like 3 eras. We started on access boards. So that was the time when 9/11 happened. I remember it so well. Then afterwards was the pro boards era. That's where I met most of you guys. And then after I learned how to code, I learned how to do HTML. That's when I started to I did the Envision version of Super Robot Wars Genesis until my last days as administrator. So everything, well, not everything, but a big part of my life revolved around Super Robot Wars for so many good reasons. I actually grew up not by Voltes 5 like most Filipinos. My first mecha was actually Gundam Char's Counterattack, Yaksu no Sha. And for the Super, it was Machine Robo. And I didn't even know what it's called. All I knew is that it had a kick-ass song, Shori no Machine Robo. I only remembered the anime through that song. Then while I was growing up, I was in high school. My dad got one of these UFO things for the SNES. So it was a big hit in Taiwan back then, where SNES games were transferred into floppy disks. So you just buy floppy disks and then you plug it into your SNES and everything, just load the games from there. That's where I get to play Super Robot Wars 4. Then I got Super Robot Wars EX. Then, long story short, I got my first original game, which was Masokishin, the Lord of Elemental. That was my first original Super Robot Wars game that I owned. Then afterwards, that's when all the piracy stuff came in. That's where Alpha was the first. Well, I'm not sure if you consider UFO as a piracy thing. It probably is, but my first pirated game was Super Robot Wars Alpha. And I remember where, like, when the PVs came out, we would wait 2 to 3 weeks, and then we would all message each other, hey, we should go to Green Hills and look for the game, and then report back. That was fun.
For the benefit of the audience, Green Hills is this amazing shopping district in Manila. I think my two fellow Filipinos here can attest to this.
Yes.
Even if I'm in Cebu, every time I go to Manila, you want to get geeky stuff, you want figures and all that, you go to Green Hills, boy.
That's right.
I'm actually really surprised that it's popular where you are, because for people that don't know, where MVGkaiser is and where I'm from, for example, we're like in the opposite sides of the country, and Green Hills is relatively near where I live. It's like interesting to me that it's that big that people on the other side of the country know about it.
Dude, I'm from a completely different island.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
We're like East Coast, West Coast over here. So it's like, wow, all right.
That's a good way of putting it. We're the
Exactly.
West Coast guys.
like ladies and gentlemen, for just to give a little context, for me to go to Manila, I have to take a plane in order to go there, or a long ass boat ride.
Boat ride takes a
12-hour
month
boat ride.
or something like that. Yeah.
If any of you guys head to Manila and you want to find some good deals on geeky stuff like mecha figures and like that, look for Green Hills, specifically Shopsville.
Yes. Green Hills is the Mecca of Mecha, if you know what I mean.
I'll be talking a bit on that one later, but please, Daba, continue.
Well, a lot of things happened to me during the course of, my life when I was running Super Robot Wars Genesis. So it's because of the game where I actually decided I wanted to learn Japanese. So after I graduated from college, I enrolled at the what do you call this? The Nihongo Senta Zaidan. So it's basically the Japanese school that used to be run by the embassy. And I graduated 2 years later, and I passed the JLPT, which is the Japanese language proficiency test, level 5, 4, and 3. So yes, I'm certified, although I failed JLPT 2 by 3 points. It sucked. So yeah, I know it sucked so much, but it's fine. I haven't taken the exam since, but I do plan to take it very soon after this pandemic. And aside from learning Japanese, since I speak 5 languages, so it's not that much big of a deal. One of our members, if you guys remember Mafti, his cousin married my best friend. So basically, the members of my community, we met up in real life, and they actually got married to my real life best friend. So it's really funny that everything came together because of this game.
Small world.
Yeah, very small world. 真好笑的.
That was-
And
I have to say.
it's just surreal sometimes when I think about it. Now that they have 2 kids, so it's one of the things that I keep telling myself that I really think I made a difference, and I hope I did a good job, that I gave the English speaking community a home per se, if you know if you get my drift. So because it's a niche game because it's all in Japanese. And yes, so sorry, go ahead.
No, you did, man. You did a great job.
Yeah, you
Don't
did an
worry.
excellent job.
Don't worry
Yeah,
about it.
Yeah.
we were just clapping. We were just doing an online clapping thing.
Oh, was it? So sorry. Sorry.
There's quadruple standing ovation for you. Don't
Thank
worry,
you.
we're standing.
You're
We're standing. Standing up.
Oh, you may all sit
I
down
am
now.
literally standing right now.
No, but thank you so much for all the support that you have given me, and for all the contributions that you guys have given to the community that I started. I did a lot of things that I never thought I would do doing this job. I learned HTML because of it. I actually did run a site, and I'm notorious for making screenshots of my games, and I made a walkthrough for Super Robot Wars EX. So it's a really good experience for me. And and also, not a lot of people know, but I also wrote a few FAQs under my belt, and I wrote it under a pseudonym, which I don't even remember anymore. But it was for Super Robot Wars 4 and EX as well. So maybe if I check game facts, I'll remember, but I don't anymore. So, and well, basically that's just it. I mean, a lot of things have changed. A lot of things have happened. And so fast forward to 2021, I'm just happy to see my boy l-gaim back. That's for sure. I mean, I miss the guy so terribly because the last time I played him was in XO on my Xbox 360.
It's always
I
time
guess-
for l-gaim, right?
もちろんです Show me the way to you. There's always a time for l-gaim. That's right. Yeah, lead me know where you are. That's true. That's true. That's true. Yeah, so everyone knows that, for this game, Super Robot Wars 30, everyone knows that I'm always gunning for l-gaim. In fact, when we attended the live stream for the PV, all my PMs exploded. It was like, Daba, oh my God, the l-gaim is back here. I know. And then we're all screaming in all caps and all that. That was so much fun.
I bet you were I bet you were having so many messages that you probably wanted to have no reply.
God damn it.
Okay, that was good. That was really good. So again, yeah, that's true. Everything exploded from Steam through Facebook, to my text, even on Gmail. I got a lot of messages. Hey, congratulations, l-gaim is back. I know, right? Then I keep crying and then keep giving the crying emoji and all that. So everyone expect me to have l-gaim in fully upgraded on my first run. That's for sure.
Well, I'm of the same way, brother. When I have a favorite unit in a game, I just all the money in it.
I know, right? I mean, it was so funny. Like when we were playing Super Robot Wars 4, it's actually my brother who discovered the setoku command. You know, to convince. You know, since we speak Chinese, we just read like shuota. You know, we just read it shuota. Like, what's this shuota? Then my brother did that on Lessie. Then all of a sudden her red icon turned blue, and then I remember we were staring at each other like, what the
Mind
hell
blown.
just happened? Yeah,
Mind blown,
blown.
right? Mind blown.
I
right?
know, right? And it was also my brother who discovered how to recruit Galleria on stage 13. So you know what? What if we don't attack her? So don't be silly. But then then he said, okay, I'm gonna do this. Then all of a sudden Galleria turned blue as well, and then we were looking at each other again. So what's going on?
You know, that's really sick because like I remember the first time I did that, it was through an FAQ, but like for you discovered that on your own, and I'm like, I can't do that in this language. But yeah, that must have been awesome.
Yeah, it was. Chinese is so hard. I mean, like I've been studying Chinese my entire life, and I still can't speak it well. I mean, I can speak Hokkien, I speak Mandarin, but yet I speak Japanese better, which is so funny.
I would say it's more appropriate at this point.
Yeah,
I can
that's
understand.
true. That's true. Yes.
Same.
Even on Final Fantasy 11 and Final Fantasy 14, I play mostly with Japanese players, and they usually use me as a translator because that's why I was popular in my server. Because if you know this Daba Myroad guy, oh, he speaks Japanese too. You're the only one who could get an English and Japanese party together and all that. That was so much fun.
You know, I totally feel you, man, about especially with the Chinese stuff and all that. I'm Chinese too, and I know Japanese and Chinese. In fact, I only know a handful of words.
You'll get there. You'll get there. And besides, I mean, like, I mean, a lot of us who speak Chinese, we have the advantage of playing Super Robot Wars because we understand the kanji and all that.
Yep.
And that's one of the main reasons why I started Super Robot Wars G, because I mean, everyone speaks English, that's for sure. So, I mean, like, we only had this one small nuke in the internet, and it's like the community is a growing place. So it's like, you know what, we're onto something here. So, and then Super Robot SRWG is born. And then eventually I retired 2 years ago during SRWT. So I never looked back since. So I'm enjoying my retirement. So whoever is running the new Super Robot Wars community, ganbatte kudasai.
Who is
Ishokenmei.
running it now?
I have no idea. I heard it was Orochimaru or something.
Oh yeah. That totally makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, you earned the retirement after so many years.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things happened, you know, that I didn't want to retire, but a lot of things happened personally in real life. So that I couldn't run the site anymore. Well, aside from my failing health and all that. So I figured that, you know, I'm already in my 40s, and when I started SRWG, I was in college. I was a freshman in college. So yeah, I mean, like 25 years, or not 25, 19 to, okay, fine. Let's just say 2 decades. 2 decades of running the site. Yeah, I could just say a third of my life is good enough to leave a mark and legacy for the franchise. So I hope that I really did a good job.
Oh, you did, my friend. I think everybody in this room would agree. You tell me, gentlemen.
Gracias.
Yeah, again,
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Correct.
Well, thank you so much for everything, you know, all the support that you guys have given me. I really mean it. And it was an honor that you guys even actually remembered me and invited me to this cast. It really means a lot.
It's our pleasure, man.
Yeah, we'd be crazy not to have you here.
Perhaps. Maybe we'll just have to wait for the next 30 years.
Or maybe next year.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Like, we do this again in 30 years. What's that gonna be like?
Yeah.
World War 60.
Or we could
Yo.
do
Back in my day, we had this thing called Game Facts.
Yeah, you young whippersnappers. You
geez.
whippersnappers at your Facebook. We never had that back in my day.
Jinra, you want to say something?
I say, by the time it reaches Super Robot Wars 60, King Kong will be over 100 years old.
Probably be in Super Robot Wars like 3 times by then.
More than
Mecha
likely,
King
yeah.
Kong.
Yeah, Mecha Godzilla for sure.
Oh, please, yes. Oh man, but really, Daba, thank you for sharing your story, and actually, you've really helped impact a lot of lives, and your forum did a lot. I'll be speaking a bit more on that in my turn, but yeah, you've done some amazing stuff, man. Thank you for that.
Oh, thank you so much. Kanshei itashimasu. It really means a lot, coming from you guys.
It's our pleasure. Yeah, especially when you mention about the 2 people from the community in the forum who even got married in real life. Like, gentlemen, you tell me. I mean, that's one hell of a gattai, I have to say.
That's true. That's true.
In more ways than one. If you get my drift. But truly, that's an amazing story, gotta say. So Daba, thank you again for sharing your SRW Super Robot War story. But
My
from
pleasure.
the person who made the site to a veteran user of the site, so great Boota, if you would.
Yeah, thank you very much. So yeah, pretty much a lot of my history, that's a good segue, because a lot of my history, continuing history in Super Robot Wars is because of Daba's site, SRWG. I don't think, like, in an alternate universe, if that, like, what if SRWG didn't exist, I might not still be as big a fan of the games or mecha anime, maybe in general, because that community was like huge for me, and I'm sure it was as well for other people, even people that are not part of this podcast, because there was a lot. There was a lot of us, and I haven't been in the forums for a couple of years now, sorry to say, but I'm sure there's still like a lot of people there that are sharing their experiences and growing with the franchise through those forums. So yeah, SRWG means a lot to me and a lot of people. And once again, thank you very much to Daba Myroad for continuing. As he said, he didn't technically create it, but for us, he did. So as for my personal history with the rest of Mecha and Super Robot Wars, like I mentioned earlier, I was born in the 80s. And in the Philippines, we were lucky to have, well, not an abundance, but we had quite a bit of mecha anime and cartoons when I was growing up. So I very much remember this. And it's really funny when I was like trying to get my head in the game for this podcast. Like, okay, we start from our history to today to Super Robot Wars 30, right? So when I was growing up, I was watching 2 things. I was watching Sesame Street. I was watching Voltus 5. That says a lot. And I'm not even lying. I remember those 2 being the earliest things I ever saw, like on TV, you know? So that continues until like today. So what I look at in terms of entertainment is like Mecha and everything else, you know? So I would be watching a lot of Mecha back in the day, and I still carry my fandom to this day. So I was like watching stuff like, I have my little list here. because it's not, super necessary for the podcast, but I had a lot of fun listing down the things that I grew up with. So started with Voltus 5. Then we also had Tosho Daimos over here, Mazinger Z, both Mazinger Z and Transer Z. We had Getta Robo and Mechanauts Robo. And for those in the West who might remember this, who remembers Force 5? Because I watched a lot of that. That's where I got to know Guy King, Dangered Ace, Star Vengers, which was the American version of Geta Robo G, and Grandizer. I also
Force 5. I remember.
You remember Force 5? Force 5 is sick. Does not hold up today, I'm sure. I've seen it in a while. But it was like one of the sickest things because like here, I remember Force 5 was made so that you would be watching a mecha after school on every weekday. I forget which one goes where, but on Monday, let's say Guy King was there. Then on Tuesday, it's Danger Days. It was made that way. And that's why it's sick, because every day you would have some sort of mecha awaiting you. Aside from that, we also, comic books were also big in the Philippines back then. And I bought quite a bit of Shogun Warriors Marvel comics.
I remember those.
You know that. That's awesome. For those listening to the podcast and don't know what that is, Google it right now, because there is an issue where Combattler V, not literally Combattler V, but close enough, teams up with freaking Spider-Man, and it is amazing. It didn't last very long. Unfortunately, only got like 12 or 13 issues. I have most of them still. But yeah, and then aside from that, of course, the American cartoons. You got the world event stuff, which I loved back in the day, of course. Both Voltron shows and Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs and the other stuff. Robotech, Transformers, GoBots, and probably aside from Transformers, probably my personal favorite US-based thing was the Mighty Orbots. And that unfortunately didn't last a long time as well. And if you don't know what that is, go on YouTube because it has a sick intro song. So that's my childhood with Mecha. And I got started with Super Robot Wars. I first saw it very similarly to the other fans on this podcast because it was Japanese only game. And we would get original games over here in the Philippines, but mostly from the US, sometimes from Japan. So a niche Japanese only game like Super Robot Wars, you had to get it pirated. There was like no other choice. Once again, like MVGkaiser mentioned, we don't condone it really. But again, it was a different, when was this? 90s. What year is it? 2021, right? It was like 25-ish years ago, 20 plus years ago. It was a very different world.
Almost
20th
30,
century.
actually,
It was
if you think
a different century even. So my first one was Shin Super Robot Taisen, or as some translations call it, Neo, but I don't want to call it that because it's confusing because there's an actual Super Robot Wars Neo now. So let's call it Shin Super Robot Taisen. And the reason why I bought it was my childhood hero was on the freaking cover. Voltus 5 was right there in the center. And I was like, it's like the late 90s, yeah? Voltus 5 is like from the mid to late 70s, yeah? So I'm like 20 plus 25 years later. Why is there a PlayStation game with Voltus 5? And why? Why is that a thing? So I had to buy it. It's not, I couldn't read it because the title was in Japanese. Had no idea what this was. And once again, like I had the Shogun Warriors comics. He was right beside Raiden, as he was known in Marvel, Raiden. And so I had to get it. Played it, just me mashing buttons, got a couple of stages in. But the thing is, I was so motivated to play that game because luckily enough, for you guys that have played quite a bit of Super Robot Wars titles, you know that you don't know who shows up in the first few stages, right? But luckily for me, the reason I bought the game wasn't the first stage. The Voltus 5 was the first stage of that game. And I was like, yeah, this is like, like Scooby-Doo cartoons, right? Scooby-Doo and guest stars. For me, I couldn't read a damn thing. So I was like, hey, it's Voltus 5 and other people. Because it starts with Voltus 5 and then you get the other robots after. Didn't get very far. because at that point I hadn't discovered GameFAQs yet. But the same store that I got this from, so like the game, I didn't get far in it because of the language barrier, but I was so hyped that it was a thing. Like, how does this exist? So whenever I kept going back to that specific game store, like every few months, I would see another title. I believe the next one I saw was F, then F Final, then 4. I don't know why I saw 4 last, but I did. And then in 99 or 2000, like late 1999, early 2000, the game that got me super hooked into the series, the game where I mentioned earlier, I had to study a second school called GameFAQs to really know how the games function. Super Robot Wars Alpha. I got it, and I was like, it's crazy because like now if some of you guys started with the PlayStation 3 games, for example, it had a certain animation style. Then you get to the PlayStation, the English PlayStation 4 games. Then now with 30, right? You see the animation progression. But for me, seeing an animation progression for like, if you don't know what these games look like, you can Google Shin Super Robot Wars. There's some videos out there on YouTube. You see the animation in Shin Super Robot Wars and in Super Robot Wars 4 PlayStation. And then you jump to Alpha. And it's like, it's crazy. And now they actually look like the anime. That was the goal from the very beginning, was to be able to play the anime you love, right?
Yep.
But for me, when I was playing Alpha, it was close enough because like before it was like these non-moving sprites going left to right. In Super Robot Wars 4, when Zeta Gundam fires that beam rifle and the beam goes perfectly horizontal, the beam rifle itself is still pointing downwards. That's how non-moving these sprites were in those older games. And then Alpha comes along, and clearly PlayStation 1 game doesn't have the animation it does now, but it had way more animation. You know, I was a huge fan of like the Street Fighter games and other 2D sprite-based games as well. And Alpha was competitive, at least in my opinion, in regards to 2D sprite animation. It just blew my mind. And essentially what happened was I dropped all of the games I was playing and transferred all of my video game loyalty to Super Robot Wars right then and there. And essentially, because like it was huge. Alpha was huge for me. Then freaking what's next? Alpha Gaiden is what's next. And it gets crazier and crazier from there. Like Turn A, Gundam X is in that game. And then so on and so forth. You get to the PlayStation 2 era with second Alpha and Alpha freaking 3. Oh my God. I remember, because now we have PVs, right? I remember the very first leaked PV of Alpha 3, guys. It was so shit. I don't know what camera the guy was using, but he was videotaping this TV behind glass in Akihabara and uploaded it to like Japanese YouTube. And then that got transferred to wherever. And I don't know how many times it got degraded by the time I saw it. And it was like he was filming it in front of a crowd. So you can see like the people moving in and out, but it was the best ever. And you see all of the new animations and stuff. So yeah. And that's how I discovered Super Robot Wars and where I am now with it. I guess those are memories of the game. Okay. I got some nice notes here that people haven't touched on yet. So I go on GameFAQs to learn the games, right? And I fall in love with this one specific FAQ. This guy was also like, I say SRWG got me to where I am now in Super Robot Wars. That's still totally true. But what got me, got my foot in the door was this dude on GameFAQs named M. Nightingard. Who remembers that guy?
Yeah. He wrote a lot of walkthroughs.
Guy was the best because it wasn't just a walkthrough. It was like fan fiction. It's not technically, like he wrote it like it was fan fiction, so you could follow the story.
Yeah, I remember those. Love those.
Right? And because you don't know. I didn't know. Because like you assume it's just, oh, this episode of this series happens next. And this, but when I read those, I realized, wait, the Ban Presto, actually took huge efforts to mix them together, like with the interactions and all of this. It's not just random. It's not just, oh, this is appearing next, then that, it's not just checkboxes. And, and again, that's why alpha was the thing that made me completely change my video game allegiance, because it was just like, what the hell is going on here? How does this exist in my reality? So afterwards, how did this impact my life? Aside from the things that I've already mentioned, I also made a lot of friends, real life friends, through this game. I remember back in college when I was still learning the game, I showed this to a classmate of mine in college. So I was like, hey, check this game out. This is the thing I'm hooked in right now. And then I learned that this classmate of mine, we would play video games every once in a while. And then I showed him Super Robot Wars. And apparently he had a love affair with Robotech back when he was a kid. Like that was his favorite show for like at least a decade or something. And when he sees Super Robot Wars Alpha, and Macross is a huge part of it. Back in the days, right, when Macross could still be in Super Robot Wars, blew his freaking mind. And this guy is still a really good friend to me this day. And again, with SRWG, Super Robot Wars Genesis, I met a lot of people there that, because like, again, this is way before what social media is now. And I would be on GameFAQs asking people questions about, the games and things like that. Things I didn't quite understand from the FAQs. But like, so they would answer my questions. I would get some sort of interaction. But it was different in Super Robot Wars Genesis. And that's what set it apart with Game FAQs. Game FAQs, it was like, I don't know, it didn't feel like you were really interacting with the community. It was something, right? But in Super Robot Wars Genesis, it really felt like everyone was your friend, like a sitcom or something, like everyone was your friend. You would go there and it was the place to be. You would hang out there because it was the best place to hang out for Super Robot Wars. And that's why people kept hanging out there. That's why it's still a thing now. Yeah. So I don't know, again, no offense to game FAQs, because it helped me out a lot in its own way. But like Super Robot, and I discovered Super Robot Wars Genesis through game FAQs. Like someone, like I was asking these noob questions, right? And then someone pointed me in the direction of Super Robot Wars Genesis. You might want to go, and someone says something like, you might want to go there because people there are more knowledgeable. So I'm like, sure. And then it's all history from there. And a lot of, and the reason why I say changed my perception of things like that, and again, this is way before what social media is today, because I never thought that I would meet any of these people in real life. Like these are just numbers and letters arranged in some form. You know what usernames look like that you would interact with, right? Then in Super Robot Wars Genesis, I was like, I'm meeting these people in real life somehow. And it's like, so Super Robot Wars is always this impossible dream for me. So it's like a sequence of events. First of all, it's that thing I mentioned. Why is this show from the 70s that I loved so much when I was like 2 years old in a game from the 90s? So that's the impossible thing. And the next impossible thing is it's actually all of Mecha in a single game. And then that's the next impossible thing is you get real life friends because of this game. And now it's in English. And now it has an official Western release. And I guess because that's the next question is, what are you most hyped for in SRW 30 is, that's one of the things for sure is this game. It's the impossible thing because you guys remember from SRWG, we had this FAQ page. Things you need to know about the franchise. And one of those was, it will never come out in English. It will never come out in the US. Original generation changed that real quick, but it was like it got changed to like all the games that are not original generation will never be released in English in the US. And look at where we are now.
Yeah, pigs can fly. Yeah.
Pigs can fly and shoot laser beams from their freaking eyes. Yeah.
Or turn humanoid on your end, on your
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So this game just keeps evolving in impossible ways. So like just erase that old FAQ page, whatever's on there now. Because especially, you would know, especially D180, because you cover like Cross Omega and uh, a lot. And everyone, like you're still bombarded, because I follow you on Twitter and look at all your posts. You're still bombarded with these, oh, you can't, that's not Mecha. It can't appear in Super War. And these answers always, it already did. It already did. It already did. So all of these impossible things, Super Robot Wars just keeps breaking. So I'm like, we were joking a while ago about doing this podcast in another 30 years. I can't wait, because I would never, none of us ever thought that it would get this far. And like, it just keeps going. So in like Super Robot Wars 40, what's that going to be like? Like when the King Kong thing that I joked about earlier, yeah, that's going to happen. I mean, don't quote me or anything, but like at this rate, sure. And another thing, just on a more geeky personal level, is GaoGaiGar versus Betterman. Because like, I remember way back, GaoGaiGar is one of those shows that I discovered through Super Robot Wars, specifically Second Alpha.
Same
So
here.
yeah. So I play Second Alpha. I go through
Yep,
Toma's
same.
route. Yeah, Super Robot Wars route. And I just fall in love with guys yelling and this gold hammer and all of this. I watched this series. I actually, while playing Second Alpha, I managed to get copies of the DVDs of Final. And oh my God, that blew my mind. But it broke my heart into so many tiny pieces when like I discovered that the sequel, the GaoGaiGar versus Betterman sequel,
Yeah,
which had
Project
like,
V.
the it had concept art already released on the net like a few years after Final. It got canceled and it got turned into a novel. And I was like, no, no, please no. So now, like 15-ish years later, I mean, it's still not an anime. That's still my wish. But again, the animations, and it's almost fully voiced at this point. This is as close to that as I can get. And again, it's another impossible thing. So it's like for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I'm like, it could still happen mode for this anime. But after that, nah, it's impossible at this point. But Super Robot Wars makes the impossible possible. So yeah, that's my connection to Super Robot Wars, folks.
Thanks so much, Boota. Let's not give up hope on Hakai or GaoGaiGar type Betterman anime, because if you think about
Especially since it's in the game now, right?
yeah, and think about it. People thought that the final parts of Full Metal Panic would never see anime form. They thought it would stay in the
Good point.
novel, right? But look, we had a
Yeah.
game. It appeared in the last 2 Z games.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
had a game, its own dedicated game, which I'm still trying to hunt down for the PS4 one. And then, and look, they had a final season. They had a final anime to wrap up everything. Show the live Attain and his amazing glory with his flowing locks and everything. It's sort of like Genetic, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and heck, if dare I say, if Get Their Arc shows us anything, I think anything's possible when it comes to Mecha. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen.
Yeah, like what you mentioned, for example, SRW is mainly used for promotion for figures or media, comics or manga.
Yes, very true.
whatsoever.
Yes.
So like we have many examples. Like we had a new Geek series, new Guy King, even the MVGkaiser OVAs were all largely thanks to SRW. So
Yes.
if 30 sells very well, the merchandise is good for the GaoGaiGar figures, who knows? Maybe they might make a new anime.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Kuganova, Guy King Legend of Daiku Mario. There's so many
Right.
examples. So, it's like, I'm gonna comment more on this, but I have a good feeling about that oath sworn in courage, you know. So
Hopefully.
indeed. So thank you, Boota, for your amazing story about your about SRW and what you went through. Like, yeah, all those shows you grew up with, I grew up with them also, and like going through 2 schools at once. That's one heck of a trip. One heck of a trip, I gotta say. But from a fellow Filipino to a friend of mine in the UK, we'd like to pass the mic to Mr. Jinrai Prime. Sir, if you would.
Cheers. Well, my history with Mecha before I got into Super Robot Wars, well, as I've already said, I didn't get into the games until around 2009, 2010. But before that, being here in the UK, we didn't really have a huge amount of mecha shows like brought over like from Japan or even from the US and whatnot. So things like Transor Z, you know, Mazinger Z and Gigantor, Tetsujin 28, none of that existed over here. So like when it came to stuff that I saw growing up, obviously it was things like Transformers, and of course it wasn't so much piloted mecha really over here. It was more, you know, things like androids and just other like buddy robots and stuff like that. So, and of course, as a lot of you all know, we had Doctor Who over here. So of course, growing up, I saw things like the Daleks and Cybermen and Jerry Anderson shows like Thunderbirds and whatnot. But when I got to around being a teenager, it was when I saw more anime stuff. So things like Zoids, Gundam Wing, Bubblegum Crisis and whatnot. But I mean, even before that, I saw things like on the Sega Mega Drive or Genesis, as it's called in the US. There were games like Ranger X or X Ramza, which is certainly more mecha focused. And you know, yes, I did see things like Godzilla, but again, it was very, very sparse. So things like Mecha Godzilla, I didn't really see until years later. But yeah, so that was the sort of things I saw growing up. So it's funny because I do feel quite jealous in that fact that I never really got to experience a lot of the other things in my formative years, because if I did see things like Dan Cougar or Combat LV or Voltes 5 or whatnot, yeah, I would have loved it. But as I said, Transformers was a massive part of my childhood, and it was large. It's funny because whenever you hear people talk about it nowadays, especially on the internet, it's usually from the US perspective or sometimes from the Japanese perspective. It's very rarely from the UK perspective. So, I mean, there was nothing really where I was. So it was either if I found like merchandise sets like car boot sales or VHS tapes or some comics, you know, because we did get the Marvel comics over here, but yeah, it was largely all that. So yeah, being a mecha fan in the UK is not fun because there's almost nothing. But as to how I discovered Super Robot Wars, it was largely during my teenage years when I became aware of things like Gundam Wing and Zoids and of course Evangelion and later Razafon. It was while I was what was it? It was when I was looking for, I was in a big Evangelion like phase at that time, and I was looking through just like videos relating to it on YouTube, and I came across a video for Super Robot Wars MX, and it was by a guy who I'm sure some of you might remember this chap. It was by a guy called Shinigami Duo.
Yeah, he's one of the first few people on YouTube to upload SRW stuff in English.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that guy.
Yep, and it was specifically this it was this video he had where he was showing off God Gundam's Sekiha Tenkyoken, which happened to have Razivon in it. And I was like, oh, okay, this looks interesting. So I looked a bit more into it, and yeah, it was like finding out it was a series that was just from Japan. And yeah, I decided to look more into it, and I eventually had to go through a few hoops to get my PlayStation 2 modded at the time. So I had to get a flip top cover rather than going the way of completely modding the PS2. So I could just swap discs. And yeah, MX was my first proper Super Robot Wars title. And of course, I got it primarily for Evangelion at the time and Razifon, but that led to me discovering more Gundam that I wasn't aware of. Yes, Gundam Wing wasn't there, but it was just nice to see other Gundam shows that I didn't really know. And of course, I got into Zero Rima and Gear Fighter Dendo and Metal Armor Dragonar. And yeah, as a result, after that, I then went from MX onto the OG series. I mean, that's probably not the second choice for a lot of people, but it was for me, because I just found like it was like during the first PV trailers of it, and I just was really drawn to Kyosuke and the Otes and Risei. And yeah, I just thought he looked cool, and some of the voices sounded familiar to me, and of course it led to me looking at more of the shows that were introduced in the games, and of course it just led to me watching more of them. So that definitely made a huge impact on my life, because at the time I was not really sure what to focus on in terms of anime. I wasn't watching a lot of shows at the time, and I thought, well, you know, I know all these, and I decided to focus more on Mecha as a whole, which led to me not just watching more shows, but getting more into the games and general merchandise. And I haven't quite, even though I do have some Gunpla, I haven't quite fully gone down the rabbit hole just because I haven't got any room. But it's pretty nuts. So, and again, over here, there's not too many fans of Super Robot Wars, I would say, but there are some. I've introduced some people to the games, and yeah, they all found it quite cool and interesting, and some of them have tried some of the older titles, and obviously since then I have tried more of the older ones, not just the English ones. The English certainly helps, but yeah, since then it's like, yeah, it's just one of those things that's really changed my life for the better in many ways. And of course, I've also gotten my wife into Mecha through Super Robot Wars, because she watches me play the games, and we actually one of the first Mecha shows we watched together was Gal-Gaigar. And as for those who do know me, I am a big fan of Gal-Gaigar. And talking about what you were talking about earlier, Boota, with Hakayo Gal-Gaigar versus Betterman being in 30, which, yeah, I am really looking forward to that. I actually read the manga novelization that's currently ongoing at the moment, and seeing Guy come back, even though it was just images on the computer I was looking at, I was in tears just seeing him return.
Felt the same way, like the way they did the I have to give it to the artist of the manga, like when I saw those scenes, and then you see Mamoru crying, and the new 3G.
Yeah.
It's like, our hero has returned. Like,
Can't wait to see that in 30, huh?
Oh God, yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
crap. That'll most, I mean, based on how it'll be, that'll most likely be probably towards the end of the first half of the game, if ever. Depending on how they pace it, of course.
Yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes. But yeah, I think one of my best like memories of Super Robot Wars would be when I started my Facebook page and being part of Mechanauts a few years back. I remember posting some images, sharing some images for Myroad, and I said, oh, you know, this Myroad is a series I would love to see come to Super Robot Wars, even though at the time l-gaim was the only brave that had ever appeared in the show, in the games. And I thought, yeah, he would just be such a good fit for the games, you know, because the Brave Express Corps, they're quite versatile in what they can do and who are there, and the same for the villains that they have in the show. And then to see the preview trailer for Super Robot Wars V, and he was there, and I was like, yeah, I was just, to be frank, I was bloody ecstatic at the time.
Awesome, man.
I love Myroad and V. I fully upgraded that thing much earlier than I expected because I never watched the show before that.
I remember when I saw the PV for the first time, it's like, holy crap, a new Yusha, a new Brave came in. That's not l-gaim. I was like, whoa, that's awesome. Man, I love his attack animations. I was like, yeah, it was definitely one of my prioritized units in my playthroughs, definitely.
Oh, he was for me as well. I mean, well, this shouldn't really surprise anyone, but for V, X, and T, Maito is my highest scoring ace in all three of them. He's like nearly 300 kills on the first playthroughs of each game.
And no one was surprised.
No.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah, so what I'm personally looking forward to with 30 would be, of course, seeing J Decker, another new Brave, finally make an appearance in the games.
Yeah, it's really sick that more and more of the Braves are showing up. So yeah, that's great. That's just awesome.
Here's to having all of them in one game.
Well, it has technically happened with Brave Saga, and of course with
I got that before. It was not what I expected, but at least we had it, right?
Oh, true.
Brave Saga was cool.
And there's also that, I can never remember the name of this game. There's another Brave game that's on the PS2, which is all like in the gameplay is very much like the Masokushin games. I can't remember what the game's called.
Was it a Sunrise Ayutan, the one with all the Sunrise mecha anime put together?
No, it is just the Braves.
Oh, I remember there was something called Brave Tyson also.
I think it was that, but yeah, I got it. And of course, playing it completely in Japanese, I have no idea what it was saying, but yeah, it was quite cool to see J Decker and Great Myroad together.
That was awesome. Was that the one where all the Yushas shot like this energy blast, and there was even Raijin and they all threw the energy into l-gaim, and he did the super powered golden hell and heaven on the board?
I believe so, yes.
Oh, and I remember seeing that cutscene in YouTube. That was awesome.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, that's another thing with Super Robot Wars. It leads you on to these other games that, you know, may not be from the same developers, but just opens your eyes. And it's like, even if you can't fully read it, you still give it a go. I mean, as we all know, gameplay itself is a universal language. So as long as you have a rough idea, then you can pretty much play any of them.
Preach, brother. I totally agree with that. You know, I think a lot of us, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, discovered a lot of other related games thanks to the SRW franchise. I remember, I'm sure all of you know this one. If it wasn't for SRW, I would never have encountered Ace, another Centuries episode.
True.
Yeah, correct.
Oh man, that was a cool game. You guys remember the feeling? Holy crap! I can control them. I can control them now.
Crazy when they
Well.
put freaking Shin Getter in it.
Yeah.
It's like, why? But okay.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. Yeah, it's
Yes.
huge in the game.
He's like, he doesn't fit at all, but I'm happy because I love him. So, all right.
One thing I have to give it to Ace is like freaking they're all in scale.
Yeah, exactly.
it's-
So
it's
like you
pretty
put a
nuts,
super
isn't it?
super robot in there next to Dunby and gets kind of nuts.
Could you do like a 1v1? You're like Shin Getter and like you're the poor sap on the other side playing as Dunby and like holy crap. Is that it could go one of two ways. Either he gets pawned, if you guys remember that term, pawned by Shin
Yep,
Getter,
yep.
or he just zips around and you can't hit him. Oh man, good times.
But yeah, it's like I'm looking forward to J Decker. I'm also really looking forward to Gal Geiger versus Better Man, like we've already mentioned, and of course l-gaim. I still haven't fully watched l-gaim yet, but I have seen enough of it to know that I would definitely like it when I finally do watch it. And of course, Victory Gundam. You know, after so long of it not being in the games, so it's just nice to see it return. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the last time it appeared was Super Robot Wars D on the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah. If you don't count the mobile games, they are correct. Very long.
Yeah, of course, as you mentioned, D. Yeah, it's not counting the mobile games. Yeah, in terms of mainline console Super Robot Wars, yeah, that would be the last time. But not just, and of course, you know, being a big fan of OG, it's nice to see there finally be a new OG battleship for 30.
Yeah. Last one we had was in Z3, if I'm not mistaken.
And what was that? I think because, as we've seen with the preview trailers, the fact that Cybuster and the SRX are in 30, it'll be really interesting to see if Ryusei has any reactions to all these other mecha.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. I could imagine Ryusei will have some really great interactions with what's his name again? The main.
Eru, yeah.
Yeah, from Knights and Magic, yeah. To Mecha Otaku.
I actually forgot about that. I love the SRX. I haven't seen it in a while and would be great to see it again in this animation style.
Yeah, I mean, SRX has only been appearing in OG thus far. To have him back in a mainline crossover title, holy crap. And oh man, so many awesome things. So Jinrai, thank you so much for sharing that story of yours, and it's really cool to hear about you know, what the perspective of somebody from Europe is for SRW and all that. And yeah, I have to give it to you for being so enterprising about acquiring the games and doing the stuff, especially with the hack, that PS2 hack. So kudos to you, man, for the determination.
Oh, well, I guess someone had to start.
Indeed. Thank you for that. So, all right. Guess it's my turn. So, you know, my history with the franchise is, I guess, like any other Filipino fan of the franchise. It all starts with Voltes 5. If you're a Mecha fan in the Philippines, most certainly it probably started with Voltes 5 in some way, with the exception of Daba. But that's really cool, though, how you got into it, my friend. So, yeah, it was really Voltes 5 for me. That was the start. Just to give an idea for the ladies and gentlemen of the audience, who may not know how big Voltes 5 was in the Philippines. I was born 1990. I'm a 90s kid, really. The first 10 years of my life was the 90s. And I remember I was about 5 or 6 years old. And Voltes 5 had a rerun. They had a rerun with a new voice cast and everything. Because in the Philippines at the time, we would have what you call Filipino English dubs, where we would dub it. Where we would have anime dubbed in English, but by Filipino voice actors, all done in the Philippines. So Voltes 5 had a rerun with a new dubbing cast. And I was just a little kid at the time, watched it, loved the show to bits, had some toys, some really great toys of it. In fact, my father got me the die-cast toy, I think, which is a highly rare collectible now. I misplaced it, sadly.
Oh, that sucks, man.
Oh, bugger.
That sucks. That thing is huge and heavy, and if you played with it as a kid, you would have cuts and bruises on your hands.
Oh,
it's
man.
legit metal.
Yes, I remember freaking A. That's why I ironically preferred playing with the smaller plastic Voltes 5s I had than the big one.
I love die-cast metal.
I love die-cast myself. So so it started with that. In fact, would you believe, gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen of the audience, that they compiled the last 3 episodes of Voltes 5 as a movie.
Oh shit! I know where you're going with this. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. You remember that, Boota?
Yes, of
Daba,
course I do.
They compiled.
I remember this. I remember what you're talking about.
The last 3 or 4 episodes of.
I think it was like maybe actually 4 or 5. So in around was it the mid 90s, Kaiser?
Yeah.
It was mid 90s. So again, like Voltes 5 comes out in Japan in like the mid-ish 70s. And in the mid 90s in the Philippines, it has this huge movie event. Like it's Star Wars or something.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nuts. I remember.
I watched it in the theater, so I know what that feels like.
Yeah. It was like, how? But I love it. But how?
Like, dude, like, get this. I was a kid, right? Like 5, 6 years old. We were lining up, me and my entire family, Voltes 5 movie. You had full-blown official cardboard cutouts, just like a legit film, like a Disney film. And then, guys, I remember the lines in Cebu. It was showing in our Ayala Cinema in Cebu.
Yeah, crazy lines also. It's like,
the lines were
have you not seen this on TV? We have, but that's not the point. It was nuts.
Yeah. I watched the end both on TV and in the movie theater. I prefer the movie theater experience for obvious reasons, but dang it, guys, like it was magical. And that stuck with me until now. I still vividly remember lining up, having my favorite sugared peanuts. Like that was a funny thing in the Philippines. I don't know if you guys ever encountered this in your countries, but in the Philippines, a very popular movie snack back in the 90s, at least, are these fried sugared peanuts. It's like peanuts fried and they put sugar around it. It's like definitely not the healthiest thing in the world, but it's just awesome. It's like caramel popcorn, but peanuts.
Yeah, I remember those.
Those things are like crack.
Oh, man.
That's the point. Crack for 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
Oh man, freaking A. But I digress. So it started with Voltes, and then moving forward as I grew up, of course, Gundam Wing, the Gundam show for the Philippines, because of Toonami in Cartoon Network Philippines at the time. And then Zoids, of course. And I grew up with a lot of the same stuff that Boota grew up also. Saber Riders or Bismarck in Japan, the Voltrons or Dairugger, and Go Lion. And then Transformers also, just like Jinrai. I watched a lot of Transformers growing up. G1, specifically in the original Transformers, the movie. the animated one, the best one in my opinion. You got the touch. Anyway.
Yeah, it's still the best Transformers movie,
Yep.
It is.
which is awesome and sad at the same time.
Oh man, I wasn't really familiar with Transformers as much because I watched the movie first before I watched the G1 show, and but I cried.
Oh God.
I felt bad when I saw Optimus die, and I didn't even know the guy.
It's probably like the first legit death scene I saw in the movie.
Yeah, me too. Like freaking A, man. And then like all the stuff, Daimos, Tosho Daimos. I love Daimos. Daimos. Yeah, freaking A. Like guys, just to give you an idea of what the Filipino taste in entertainment is, the Filipinos love melodrama. They love what we call in the Philippines love teams. Just like, you know, your couples and stuff. And then dudes, Daimos was like crazy here when it came out because it's like, Erica! Like everybody ate that up. People, I think, were more interested in the romance story than the robots.
Just a note to the people listening, the Filipino names for the main characters of Daimos were Richard and Erica, not, you know, Kazuya.
Yep. Even the names for the Voltes family, like
Steve.
What's his Japanese name again?
Kenichi.
Kenichi, yeah. Kenichi.
Huge nerd, in case no one noticed.
Oh man, the localization, right? But then we still had the Japanese music, so such an interesting thing. So yeah, so that's my history of Mecha before SRW. And then discovering the game for the first time was just like D180. I pirated copy in this nondescript game shop near my house in Cebu. I remember it vividly. I was starting to get into high school at the time. I would frequent the place, always getting new PS2 games because I was super into the PS2. Still have my original PS2, the fat one, if you guys remember that one.
Is it still working?
It works. I just need to.
Wow. That's a resilient unit, my friend.
Yeah, mine's still working.
Oh, wow. All right. You guys are lucky. Well, my second one, my slim one is still working. So, you know.
Yeah, I have two. I have the slim one and the fat one. The fat one still technically works, but it reads CDs pretty slow. I gotta what do you call this? Replace the lens.
Yeah. The lasers for those give out. That's what happened to me, I think.
The slim ones though are champs. Like, whoa, those ones last.
Yeah, mine still works really well. Pretty sure.
Mine as well. So yeah, so I went there, tried to get my new set of games because I would always go there at least maybe twice a month to get a new set of games. But on that particular trip, there were no new games, and I saw this disc saying Super Robot Wars Alpha 3, and then I saw Voltes 5 there. It's like and Gundam Seed, because I watched Gundam Seed at that time. It's like, whoa, this is cool. I want to get this. But here's the funny story. In this game shop, there was a return policy, even if these were not official copies. You could return a game if you didn't like it. So I went, the first time I bought the game and played it, I saw it was Japanese. And then I returned the copy of Alpha 3. And then I went back to play it.
Wait, why'd you return it? Was it broken?
No, it's because I was not into Japanese games at the time.
All right.
I'll get to the interesting part of the story, but oh yeah, I just want to insert this. The very first SRW I encountered was not Alpha 3, which I'll get into more of my story there. The very first title I ever encountered was Advanced. because my cousin was playing it in his GBA, Game Boy Advance. And funnily enough, he gave me that copy eventually. And his copy was an original Chinese copy of the game, strangely enough. So I'll tell you how I found out it was an original copy later, but I just found that very fascinating. Anyway, yeah, so I encountered Alpha 3. I returned the game because it was in Japanese. I was one of those kids like, I can't understand it. I'm not going to play it. So there. I went into another, then I had another trip to the same shop. Right? No new games at all. I was totally hungry for a new game, and I saw that Japanese robot game I saw earlier, and that was the only one that sort of interested me in the set. I thought, what the heck? Let's just get this and play it. And I decided to continue playing it, even if it was in Japanese. And my lord, continuing playing it was the best decision of my entire life. Like, when I decided to continue playing it, holy crap, the doors it opened. So my favorite memories of going and discovering it, like, whoa, these animations are awesome. And then all the events as it played out. Funny thing is, like, same story of like how what you guys have shared about starting with the last game in that particular series, then you played the older titles afterwards. That was my story with Alpha 3. I remember as I decided to continue playing, you remember back in the mid 2000s, like how awesome these cutscenes look like freaking, you remember the final fusion sequence in Alpha 3 for Genesic?
Oh yes, of course. Oh yes.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
Like, holy crap, man. And then the part with the Gunbuster when Noriko did the ripping out of the
Oh yeah.
the power
The shirt
core.
in the chest, yes.
Yeah. Those cutscenes sold it for me. And the thing that helped further was that the original that I chose for my first playthrough of Alpha 3, who now is my number one favorite original of all time. I chose Rai-Oh as my first.
Same here.
And then, fan of good taste, I see. So he was the only one who had these special cutscenes and extra animations, like when he would jump in and all that. Like, they're super detailed. Like, all of that just sold it for me. And of course, all the Kamen Rider references, right? Big Power Rangers and Kamen Rider.
Yeah, Toma's animations in Alpha 3 were much better than the others, right? I specifically also remember that. It kind of stood out.
Yeah. And since then, the rest is how you can say, as you say, history. I mean, the shows that really defined it for me that I discovered thanks to that, the Mazingers, especially MVGkaiser. If my avatar is any indication, and my name, MVGkaiser, man, like freaking A. Like, after discovering the game, researching the shows online, and discovering YouTube for the first time and Wikipedia and all that, I would then buy these sort of pirated, you guys remember video compact discs, VCDs?
Yes. Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
They were not good. They were not good.
They were not, but
They were not good.
I still have.
But they were the only ones we had. So they
yeah,
were great at the time.
at the time. I still have my original discs from that time. When I remember the very first, Jinrai, if you.
I was going to say, this was also during the time when we had dial-up internet.
Oh man, gentlemen, you.
Oh.
Oh man, dial up. Good times, I guess. But anyway, continuing on, like, I remember the very first proper Super Robot show that I discovered because of SRW. It was Great Mazinger versus Get the Robo, the 70s crossover. Man, growing up with Voltes 5, it just made it so easy to watch that. I loved it. And this was with the freaking Hong Kong subs. You remember the Hong Kong subs?
Yes. I still have, I don't know, a lot of DVDs from like with the Hong Kong subs in my collection over here.
Oh man, those Hong Kong subs, man.
Crab sticks.
The thing is with the Hong Kong subs, it's like 50-50. Sometimes you get really good ones, and sometimes they're just way off. It's like some alien language, but still somehow English. It's like, why even put these in? I remember the Dendo ones. If anyone saw the Hong Kong subs for Dendo, I think those were particularly super bad. But some of them, oddly enough, are actually decent English subs.
Yeah.
I never saw those, but my first proper exposure to the Hong Kong subs would be Yu-Gi-Oh! When they didn't call Blue Eyes White Dragon Blue Eyes White Dragon, it was Green Eyed White Dragon.
I remember that. Daba, I think you were about to say something.
No, sorry. No.
Okay. Oh man, Hong Kong subs. You remember guys like the Mazinger Z and stuff like that? Like a Pilder Go friend.
Go for it.
Oh God.
Yeah, it would be something like that. I remember those. Yeah.
Age of Fatso, right?
Oh, that's the best.
Oh man, memories. Oh, Koshoryoku beam, photon beam, lightsaber.
Close enough, right? Close enough.
Close enough, at least.
It just works.
But then, yeah, it was like Great Mazinger versus Get the Robo and Get the Robo G. They compiled it for some reason in the VCD I got, and then MVGkaiser. Freaking A, the first time I watched MVGkaiser and don't wanna know why body. Oh, freaking A. Fire Wars, when I hear Fire Wars first time, that show, that song drilled into my head until now. And you know, that show impacted me, seeing this robot, like, because growing up, and with a mecha I watched before, I remember the robots would get damaged and would have a hard time. But that was the first time in my entire life seeing something that would not get damaged at all, you know? like Kaiser's like literally indestructible in the show. He never got damaged. I mean, yes, technically the cockpit in the final episode of the OVA got damaged, but the robot himself, like, he never got a single scratch. That stuck with me. Seeing Kaiser being so invincible, and you know, I just love that. And you say, I also have this sort of edgy thing going on because I love like heroes that use dark themes, like Batman, Ghost Rider, stuff like that. Things you usually typically see villains have. I love that when it comes to heroic from heroes, you know. And seeing Kaiser like this demon emperor with these menacing horns and his red wings, and then being this guardian for humanity, is like, that ticks so many boxes for me. And he also has my favorite color combo, red and black. So it's like, I always love red and black always. And then I said, okay, this guy checks so many boxes for me. And then, you know, discovering that. And then of course, Gaogaiga, my other favorite mecha of all time, Genetic. And then,
can I just say that I love the fact that there's so many huge Gaogaiga fans in this group.
Gaga. Yep. The King of Braves, right? It's like,
exactly.
And then this, I think, is a perfect segue to how it impacted my life. And oh boy, get ready, guys, because this journey. The MVG in my name, MVGkaiser, actually stands for Myroad versus Gaogaigar, which was a fan fiction I tried to make. I never published it. But
Oh, I was gonna ask, is it like around? Oh, that's too bad.
I planned to put it in fanfiction.net, if you guys remember that one. I just
Yep, true.
I just never gotten to uploading it. I still have the Word files. I still have the Word files of it. If you guys want to have a copy, I'd be more than happy to send you copies. I still have copies of the Word files. But it because Mecha, all the stuff led me to writing fan fiction. I started writing my first fan fiction because of Gundam Wing. I wrote something I called Gundam Wing New Era, which was like my own sequel to Gundam Wing, where it starred the children of the Wing boys with their respective love interests. This is way before Frozen Teardrop was a thing. So, and the names I made for the kids were so cringy, my lord. I thought I got the naming sense of Gundam Wing down, but my god, the names I like the name I made for the son of Hero that I made, Hero and Relina. I put there Care Yui, Keir, like what was I smoking when I was making this?
Are you sure you want us to read this story then?
I want to.
I'd be more than happy to share you the Word files. Just prepare yourselves.
I'll just read the
Brace
review.
yourselves.
Okay, I'll send it to Boota and Jinrai, and then they can tell you what they thought.
Nice. Merry
Yes,
Christmas.
please. Yeah, the summary will do.
Oh man! But anyway, that then after encountering SRW, I wrote a fic about what if Mechanauts and Gao fought, and like with the story and all that, and then on Mechanauts' side, his allies were the Gonagai mechs plus Gaiking Legend Daikumaru for brownie points, you know, and versus Gao and all that. And I came up with the story and everything. And I would focus on this fan fiction more than my schooling because I was in high school at the time. And then this writing the story would lead me through one very long ass circuitous journey, would lead me to my current career, because SRW and mecha anime as a whole exposed me to other anime, other forms of entertainment, especially anime. It opened me up to anime as a medium, because I eventually got into more mainstream anime eventually thanks to mecha anime. And then because prior to that, I'd only watch what was on television. After I started watching mecha anime and going into mainstream anime, I would actively look for shows, which I never did before SRW. And all of this writing fan fiction and anime would eventually lead me to creating my own original story based on the original elements of a fan fiction I made. Because after MVGkaiser versus Gao, I would write a crossover fan fiction with fantasy stuff mixed with Marvel, of all things, which will then lead to a comic I produced with a studio I set up here in Cebu, and then eventually to an anime I'm working on. Daba knows about this project, so yeah, so that's how it impacted my life and the lessons that the shows taught me. You know, courage, overcoming obstacles. Because, you know, for me personally, I always lean more towards super robots than reals. And I love how the somewhat that transcendent value of overcoming these immense odds in these storylines. And, you know, that's always stuck with me ever since. I've never forgotten that. And, you know, this game led me to a career that I am immensely proud of and immensely happy with. So this game actually saved my life in a way. And Daba, dare I say, if your forum boosted this website, this fandom and helped lead me to where I am now. So you're a big part of
Yeah.
that.
I am so happy to hear that actually. I still couldn't believe it, until now, even until now, I still couldn't believe it. It's the first time I've ever heard about it actually.
Well, that's what happened. And, in discovering all the music, other websites like daitrombe.net, if you guys remember that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. And then, whenever I prepare myself for a pitch for my project or doing work for my animation producing work, one thing I do before I go into a meeting, before I prepare for a big event that I'm organizing or whatever, or when I start doing work, I listen to anime music, specifically mecha music. Like when I'm trying to type down a document, right? What's the one track I love playing to help me focus on typing down documents, because I'm horrible at paperwork. I hate paperwork. What's my number one favorite song I play when I do paperwork, because I need to focus? Pierce the Heavens with Your Triple X from Gurren Lagann.
Nice.
I forgot
Oh,
what
Moshiro.
I forgot the Japanese name of the track. It's like Omae wa something, Omae no something, Triple X something. That one. I love that track. That helps me focus when I have to type down documents.
How is that even possible?
Because it motivates me. Whenever I want to feel motivated, I play that, because I hate doing paperwork, so I need to feel motivated. So I will listen to that song.
God, I wish I was like you. I'd probably be more productive, in my earlier years.
Well, you're plenty productive, in my opinion, Daba, and I think everybody here would agree.
Those days are way behind me.
So anyway, when I mentioned about Fire Wars, like I think Jinrai just DM'd me, "In the fire, break it down." Sing it, brother. So anyway, so that's how it impacted me. It made me who I am right now as a person, and led me to a career that I'm so in love with, that I cannot imagine not doing.
I am so proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Actually, you guys actually inspired me for my career, actually. D180 for being such a champ with, your playthroughs actually were a huge part of what inspired me for doing what I do, because I seeing you constantly chugging out those videos all the time. I remember always enjoying watching your playthroughs of the Z games. Like, oh man, those playthroughs inspired me so much, really.
Hey, no problem, man. Glad you enjoyed them. I also, I really enjoyed making them, because I know people will enjoy them. So hearing those words from you, it's great. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
your-
D180 videos are so nice.
Yeah, your YouTube channel is great, D. Keep it up.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah.
More power.
I'm a subscriber too.
Thanks.
I think we all are, and we're proud to be your subscribers, man. Keep it up. And speaking of which, I forgot to mention that my own little YouTube career that never. I mean, D180 is really the biggest success in YouTube amongst all of us, in my opinion. But I tried my hand at it. I don't know if you guys ever saw my random AMVs where I had like Koji and Sayaka, Guy and Mikoto. And then
I remember your YouTube videos. I remember your Zanga video.
thank you. Yeah, that my tribute to Zengar AMV. I still have the original file, so if any of you guys want it, I can share it, no problem.
I would love to see that video again.
Yeah, just upload it somewhere so I could watch it too.
I got copyright striked for that.
I was gonna ask, is it not on YouTube anymore?
They took it down, sadly.
Yeah, it's not been on there for years.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
Oh, but you know, I can try to. I have the original file. I still have it, so I'll find a way to put it up there somehow, some way. I'll share it with you guys somehow. Or heck, D, if you want the copy, I'd be more than happy to let you upload it if you want.
I think I also get copyright blocked.
Okay, let's try to avoid that then. I'll just give you guys a personal copy if you want. Just let me know. So yeah, I tried to do my hand at it. I even tried to do versus videos. I made a trailer for my fan fiction there also, and did some versus videos. Like I had the ones that I was most proud of was the one where I had Kaiser beat the crap out of Mazen Kaiser beating the crap out of Ali Alsaces from Double O, and Gao Faigar beating Alejandro from Double O. For some reason, I had this hate boner for Double O.
You really hate that character, huh? You have like everyone beating him up.
Well, you can't say he doesn't deserve it.
He does.
Yeah. Oh man, good times. My failed YouTube career. But those are moments I will never trade for anything, and I loved it. Man, I remember editing with Cyberlink Power Director. That was my software of choice editing back in the day. But I digress. So as to what I'm looking forward to the most in SRW 30, well, I'm always looking forward to every new game every time one comes out. But the number one things that I am looking forward to the most, I think everybody here also shared this, and I'm gonna say it again also. Hakai o Gaogaiga versus Better Man. That was the number one thing that shocked the heck out of me in the trailer and the live stream, and the number one thing I'm really looking forward to.
HD Genesic.
Oh my lord, the last time, correct me if I'm wrong guys, the last time we had Genesic, barring the mobile titles of course, was W.
Yes, it was.
My god, how his animations are going to look like. I have to prepare myself for that.
14 years. Yeah.
14 years, yeah.
Oh God, 14? Jesus.
Like, and he's together with my boy Kaiser to boot. Freaking A.
Yeah, your fan fiction became a real thing. Thanks, Terada.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'll tell you guys personally, because I tried to make that fanfic Gauga of Genesic and Kaiser fighting. I'm thinking, oh, please let us have Kaiser when we fight the Apostle of Ruin Genesic. I'm totally gonna take him out with Kaiser for sure. Dang it, man. Like, that's like a dream come true. And oh yeah, of course, my boy Kaiser. I always look forward to his returns every time. I was totally shocked that they used the infinitism version, you know. I thought they were just gonna, I had a feeling Kaiser would come back because I thought, okay, final was revealed in the Nintendo Direct, right? Final and Mazinger Z Infinity. So I thought like, whoa, Kaiser might be here because final's here. Genesic's gonna be there. There was never a game where Kaiser and Genesic were never together, right? So I thought Kaiser would come back, but I thought, oh, they might just reuse the animations and the assets from X. Would make sense, right? Because it's the 30th anniversary and stuff, and thought, hey, the original Kaiser would be cool. But lo and behold, they freaking adopted a model kit storyline, and to put it there a second. My God, his sprite looks awesome also. Freaking A. Oh man. Sorry. I gush over the guy so much.
So
No, go
That's
ahead.
all right.
It's
Feel
what this is
free.
for.
That's right.
My boy Kaiser and Genetic, like, oh dang it, man. And then just like how Maito is your like most number of kills in V, Jinrai, mine's Koji.
And like
I'm
all
not
of this
surprised.
and like all of this gushing is great because like in terms of like anime podcasts in general, I don't think a lot of them are like this. They're not filled with like general love. So it's awesome to like hear this sort of thing. So
That's
yeah,
true.
True.
It means you're legit. You're the real deal.
Thank you. You're too kind, guys. Well, I can't help it. I just love this franchise so much, like all of us, right? So I wouldn't be where I am today without this game, without Mecha, without MVGkaiser or Great Mazinger. This game has just done so much for me, and I think for so many other people. And oh man, 30, I'm just so hyped for it. And aside from, of course, everything else I mentioned, the other thing I'm so curious and excited about also, guys, for the first time ever, DLC units. What are we gonna get there? I wonder.
Well, that is interesting, isn't it? And it's like, most likely it's probably going to be a lot of the OGs. But it wouldn't... Is it just... this is slightly off topic, but is it just me, or does the colors of the new battleship remind me of Neo Granzon?
Huh. That's an interesting
It's
observation.
either that or the Grand Gus. Some people are reminded of
Yeah,
either.
Grungasta for sure, because I believe the one
Yeah.
who designed it is the one who designed Grungast, right?
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Same guy who also designed the Macross.
Yeah. Like
Yeah, I can see the grunt gust, but yeah, for some reason I rewatched the second PV trailer again like the other day, and for some reason I was getting Neo Granzon vibes.
I think it's because of the color of the beams. They're black. So it's like some funky energy. And but it's interesting you mentioned that, because they said that there are only 4 SRWOG units represented. So that leaves us 9. So that's going to be quite interesting, We've never had DLC units before in a mainline SRW. We've had stages in the VTX games,
Yes.
and also Z in the PS3 Z games. Parts, but units? I think this is a great time for us to theorize, guys. And please throw your hat in the ring and tell me. I'll throw mine. For the 2 OGs, here are my hopes. And I think you guys would be excited if, but you tell me your hopes. 2 OGs, right? SRWG OG. So these are any legacy originals from before, right? Here's what I hope, personally. And it fits Cybuster and SRX being present, right? I'm hoping for the following. Neo Granzon, because Masaki, right, is there. It'd be so cool to have him there. And this one would be a cool curveball if they did it. Now you guys tell me your opinion. Because of SRX, right? So who's the Granzon to SRX? If Granzon is to Cybuster, who would be the equivalent for SRX? Guys, imagine, and this would be interesting build up for the next OG game, because there was already hints of this in Moon Dwellers.
I see where this is going.
Guys, imagine if they bring back the original Astranagant with Ingram piloting it.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I would kill for that.
Because, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, the last time we saw the original Astranagant, what more with Ingram piloting it, was in Alpha, was Alpha, the original Alpha.
Yeah,
Yes,
over
I believe
20
so.
years ago. Yeah.
Did it never appear again, really? Because I'm not like the biggest fan of the
Yeah,
just
no,
the
no,
original
he
generation
wasn't.
side.
He wasn't even in OG.
Wow. Wow. Why? that's such a beloved like Mecha. And I'm like, why? Oh well.
I think it's because of some lore reasons. Like apparently what powers the Astranagant can't exist in two realities. So if it was to appear, it has to be the original version, not a new version.
Right, because of the time diver stuff. That's true. But guys, they could literally do anything in this game, so it would be so cool if the Sanagan came back. So those are my predictions, and I'm thinking the other units will most likely be series. What the most likely case would be additional units related to the series we have in the game. The curveball they could do,
Another new series.
new series that have appeared before using this engine, using this game engine. So that means anything from Z3 Jigoku Hen up to T is eligible. That's my theory. The rest is maybe, but the more likely case is like maybe Unicorn would come back, because Banaj is there, right? Because of narrative. So
But they say, I mean, if I'm not wrong, Terada said that Unicorn won't be DLC.
Yeah, I saw that post of yours, D.
right. Thanks for clarifying about that. Dang it.
Because I think he's like super highly requested. And they had to like maybe address it.
Right. That's true. Thanks for
It's
clarifying.
more likely that Unicorn is already in the game. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh.
That's even better.
Oh, right. It could be a secret or something. Good point.
Because even though it appeared in like narrative for a short period, it's technically still in narrative.
Yeah, that's enough reason. I mean, if you think about it, guys, SRW has made anything possible, like Final Dankuga, like things you hear only in the lore of the show become reality in this franchise. Just
Yeah,
another thing.
speaking of the DLC stuff, I just had a thought because recently the Smash Brothers DLC stuff was like huge all over the internet, and Smash Brothers is cool, but it's not my jam. And just interesting that we're talking about this, and this is getting me legit super hyped up for like DLC characters and stuff.
Yeah. Any other wish lists or predictions, guys, on who you guys think might come in, or who you would like to come in?
In terms of OG, I'd like Zengar because he's my favorite.
Oh yeah.
That's just mine. I would just like my favorite to get in, but I don't know how likely that is.
Oh, Zengar would be epic, actually.
He has to have Elzam with him.
Yeah. No, that would be, yeah.
Yeah, Zengar and
That'd be ideal.
Elzam, yeah, together. The two makes sense. Nice. Jinrai, any predictions or wish lists for the DLC?
I'm not sure. Well, I'm hoping probably not DLC characters, but I'm at least hoping we will see Rai and Aya appear for the SRX.
Nice.
But for DLC, I'm not sure. Probably, well, like you say, probably have even though it's very unlikely the Astranagant with Ingram to come back. But I don't know. To be honest, I'd be quite happy with anyone. Yeah, I'd love to see Zanga come back because I've always loved Zanga. But no, I honestly would be happy with anyone.
Awesome. Beautiful. D180, any predictions or wish lists you want? You know?
Mm, I mean, I try not to hope for so much. I'm just excited to see what they have stored, have in plan. Because there's at least a feeling of surprise and no feelings of disappointment if nothing goes my way.
That's a very good way to go about with it. I can respect that. I would ask Daichi, but he had to head off to take care of something. But we thank him so much for his time. What about you, Daba? Any wish lists?
Oh no, I'm not playing that game. I'd rather just, wait until what they announce something. I'm done, doing wish lists and stuff like that, just so I don't get disappointed.
He's retired for real. Doesn't even want to answer the wish list question.
I can respect that. Be waiting to be surprised. But I think whatever happens, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I think SRW 30 is going to be an amazing game no matter what. And I think this is, in a way, correct me if I'm wrong, giving a nice surge for the Mecha fandom and community. And I think it's going to do some amazing stuff. I think we're seeing Team SRW do things we've never seen before with this game. And I think it's just going to be an amazing new title. And, I think the future of the franchise looks bright. And who knows what's to come. I mean, there's still, of course, after 30. There's, of course, the new OG game that's going to come out. And dare I say it, I have a feeling it might come out next year, being next year is the 20th anniversary of OG. So, things are looking good for the franchise. And man, this 30th anniversary, this milestone and the 30th and this SRW 30 is just amazing, an amazing time to be an SRW fan, an amazing time to be a Mecha fan. And I think, guys, we should be all grateful for that. And remember why we're into this franchise in first place. And let's all support it. Let's support this game, support the release of the new game. I have to find my pre-order for the game.
I agree. And that's why I said one of the things I'm super looking forward to in 30 is the official availability in the West finally, because I'm really hoping that this pushes the franchise even further. And like I mentioned, it seems to be the franchise that, like the mechs it's representing, makes the impossible possible every few years,
Exactly. Just like the show of origin of your avatar, do the impossible, see the invisible.
Row, fight the power.
Boom, baby. That's the stuff.
Uh-huh.
Oh man. But with that, I think we gotta wrap up. I think it's been a great 2 hours now. But
time flies when you're having fun.
Indeed. But I think it's just a bright future for the SRW franchise, for Mecha as a whole. And I think it's just gonna go stronger from here. And man, long live Super Robot Wars, long
That's right. Eiko are.
Let the Super Robot spirits burn on for eternity. And like the slogan for SRW 30, the battle for the future of our universe continues. And may it
Never stops.
And may it never stop.
Yeah, that's a good one that's a good one. May it never stop.
Indeed. So with that, gentlemen, any parting words we'd like to share with our friends out there in YouTube land?
Personally, I think that last one was perfect. May Super Robot Wars never stop.
Never.
Thank you. Indeed, may it never stop. Our channel host, D180, any parting words you'd like to share before we wrap the podcast?
No, I think you ended it very well already.
Thank you. May Super Robot Wars never stop. All right. Thank you very much. I'm MVGkaiser. You guys have a great rest of your day, whether it be morning, afternoon, or evening. Thank you so much for joining us in the Super Robot Wars 30th Anniversary podcast. May Super Robot Wars never stop.
Hello there. My name is Guntank, and I've been involved with Mecha genre for many years now. Um, Before I discovered Super Wars, my first mecha show was Kotetsu Jig, also known in Latin America, Spanish-speaking countries as El Vengador, and also Gaiking, also known as the Gladiador, and of course Mazinger Z. I believe it was around the year 2000 to 2001 when I first saw my first Super Robot Wars game. And the first game I ever played was Shin Super Robot Wars. While not necessarily the best Super Robot Wars of all the others, it was definitely an experience. Uh, the way I got into Super Robot Wars was basically I went to a comic shop that lived nearby, and they had this pirated copy of the game. So I had a PlayStation 1 that was pirated because I was playing Dragon Ball Legends back in the day, and that game was not available in the West. And like I was saying, I pirated the game and I played Super Wars for the first time, Shin Super Wars. Now my friend had Super Wars Alpha Gaiden and he lent me that game and I instantly fell in love with all the stories and especially with Zanger in the third Glamir in that game. So that's how my journey to the Super Wars fandom started, and it wasn't until 2004 or 5, I believe. I think it was a little bit earlier, maybe 2003, around the Super Wars Alpha 3 era or Alpha 2. Um, I found the SRWG forum and I became a big member, and I met 180 and all the guys here. And ever since then, I mean, it's been more than 20 years since I've been into this, and I love it. I love the Mecha genre. I love it a lot. It has a great impact in my life. I remember, this is going to sound extremely silly, but I remember in college, I wasn't doing very well in a class, but then I remember the words of courage from from Gal Geiger, and basically saying that even if it's 1% a chance of victory, you know, there's still a chance. And I took that to heart, and I did my best to pass some of the classes in college back in 2008, 2009, and everything worked out. uh, Gundam has shaped my life a lot. I got into model building. I used to build car kits when I was a kid, and I got back into it thanks to the Gunplas, the nostalgia factor from the Mazinger and Get a Robo series, you know. And to be honest, looking back of past 20 plus years being in this genre, it's been great. Definitely great. And, you know, with the news of Super Wars 30 coming to the West, the first ever Super Wars to come to the West, I'm not counting Super Wars Original Generations, nor Prior Cross Zones, or any of those, because the one we're getting is the actual anime crossover that everyone has always wanted to come to the West, and here we are. It's finally coming over, and I'm extremely excited. I can't wait to see what they will bring I know that the former Bon Presto, now Bandai, of course, has tremendous stories and plot lines prepared for many of the shows they added for Super Wars 30, especially Get a Robo. I want to see how things will look in that aspect. I'm excited for the addition of MVGkaiser Infinitism. A lot of people don't really like the inclusion of Char's counterattack again, but I'm down for it. I can't wait for it. Um, yeah, I'm really excited for Super Wars 30, and I can't wait. And I'm glad that this is happening. And I'm here to witness it, like the first time ever Super Wars is coming to the West. It's a great moment.
So, as for the mecha that I grew up with, I mean, I was exposed to things like Ulysses 31 as a kid, and obviously that had mecha designs by Studio Nue, but it wasn't really what you'd call a mecha anime. I think probably Macross Plus was the first real thing that kind of switched me on to mecha, I suppose, in a big way, and that there was like specific people called mecha designers that created these things, and that there was a whole kind of lore and complex narrative behind the creation of these machines and why they needed to exist within the context of that story. So I think that was kind of the big hook. I discovered Super Robot Wars probably through friends, sort of like my late teens, when I was I think they were playing things like Super Robot Wars F and F Final, and they were telling me about all this stuff about the games. I don't think I played those at that time, though I did play them later. And I think the first real game that I really kind of got into, like on my own, I think was probably Super Robot Wars Alpha 3, which was, formative in the sense that it introduced me to so many different mecha anime and other things. I mean, the main draw for that was that it included like Macross Plus, obviously, and Virtual on Mars and the original Macross as well, like Do You Remember Love? So I was, that was a big, Macross hook for me. But it was all the other series that kind of brought, like Idion, which I'd not seen properly before, though I'd heard about, and obviously Dankuga, which has then since been a lifelong, passion. And how's it impacted my life? I mean, I think since Alpha 3 I've bought and played every single major release that's been announced. I've also gone back and played older games in the series like F and F Final and the original Super Robot Wars on the Game Boy. So it's definitely become a regular fixture in my gaming life in a way that I probably would never have predicted. And also it's introduced me over the years to so many new mecha anime I never knew about. So again, like I said, Dankuga was a huge sort of draw for Alpha 3 and lots of other series as well. So as for what I'm looking forward to in Super Robot Wars 30, l-gaim, that just looks brilliant to have back. V Gundam, just really, really happy that that's returning. I'm curious about all the extra sort of what else they're going to do with the DLC. Because I think they've, it could be quite interesting. But no, I mean, I loved, Super Robot Wars V, X, and T, and played them all again through on the Switch. I played T on the Switch predominantly, but I went back and played V and X. So, I mean, 30 is kind of like the end of that journey, it feels. So, in the fact that you've always got these kind of like battleships as like the main focus. So yeah, no, I think that's kind of my life with Super Robot Wars, really.